Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We're coming at you on February 17th, 2021. All kinds of interesting stuff in the news. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. And in our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett, who is a pilot in the state of California. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So let's jump right into the news. So one of the sort of bait and switches that we're running into with the Biden administration right away is, we heard all this talk about getting back to normal. Maybe 100 days of masks was his big plan, I guess, that he unveiled as he, to deal with COVID and we were going to be sort of home free. And now all of a sudden he's talking about, essentially kids' education is non-essential in his administration. We're essentially hearing that, they're hoping that I think within, 90 days or 100 days or something, they will have kids back to school for 1 day a week. 1 day.
Imagine that.
Yeah,
yes.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, it's beyond the pale. I mean, talk about the biggest transfer of wealth ever from one category of people to another. And in this case, it's from kids to anybody in the at-risk group, essentially, because they are taking away their education. I mean, years of the kids' lives and formative of when they gain their skills so that they can go out there and actually earn something more than minimum wage instead of having to have the government dictate it to them. You guys have any thoughts on this? It just disgusts me to no end what they're doing with kids' education.
And you got kids, Jason. So I really feel your pain on this one. I really do. Yeah. The point is though, it always amazes me how the left does take words where normal people, and I have to use that expression. Sorry, pardon me. Normal people will hear these words and they will think one thing when the left have some secret plan as to what they really mean. Biden spoke about reopening school, and his press secretary came out very early after the inauguration and talked about reopening schools. So everybody thought reopening schools mean reopening schools. Who the hell would have thought reopening school now means 1 day a week? But you see what happens, what is happening. This woman who's the head of the CDC, she came out and said very clearly that the schools can reopen. There's no significant risk to the teachers, and they do not have to be vaccinated before they go back to school. But then, I am sure this happened in the background. Somebody in the teachers' unions pick up the phone and tell Biden and tell his press secretary, listen, okay, that is not how it's gonna go. So all of a sudden, even the head of the CDC, with the science at her back, is not backtracking. Oh, we have to be careful. Oh, we have to be sure everything is in place. We have to show the resources are correct before we could open the schools. She have now backtracked on her original statement, which was totally correct, which was totally backed by science, but now the politics have taken over. Well, the teachers' unions is controlling the Democratic Party, and this is what is happening. Our kids are suffering for it.
And just to jump in real quick, when you said she backtracked, when she first said that, the White House said she wasn't speaking in her official capacity, right, which is crazy. I mean, she's, when she's speaking to the public as the head of the CDC, or I'm not quite sure what her position is, but it's pretty high up in the CDC. She's the head of the CDC.
She has the CDC now.
Okay, so she's the head of the CDC. She's speaking for the head of the for the CDC, yes, not her personal opinion. And then, of course, you saw them, essentially strong arm her into walking her statement back. But anyways, I'll let you guys get back to it.
My only contribution is to remind the left that they have always talked about rich, wealthy corporations getting rich on the backs of the poor. as if the poor were the source of wealth, but they're poor at the same time. I don't get that, but in but in this case, you can definitely say that unions and governments are increasing power, and that equals to wealth.
Yes.
On the backs of the innocent little children that aren't going to school.
Yes.
And so you can actually really, that is a true statement. And it's like Leon said, it's just completely unnecessary and unscientifically backed with that whole policy of especially schools, never mind the whole shutdown thing, but just schools. I mean, if we just talk about that. So anyway, yeah, that's all remember the backs of the poor, the backs of the children. Same.
Well, you know what's most appalling about this too is often government and the teachers themselves are coming in and saying, who speaks for the kids? And that's what we're here to do. We're here to speak for the kids. They clearly are not speaking for the kids. They're speaking for their own interest. They're getting paid. They're staying home. And the kids are not getting an education. And I mean, I certainly question the education they were getting prior to the shutdown because these government monopolized schools. But, this is where we really need school choice. This is where school choice would shine because you would have competition in the schools with different models of how to address COVID and the shutdowns and everything else. And so you'd have different schools taking different approaches. That's exactly what we need. But instead, it's one size fits all, government top down, and led by the teachers union, and it's terrible. I mean, it's really just criminal and immoral what they're doing.
I think the first word you said is correct there. Criminal. This is seriously criminal. That these people could do this and get away with it. That our kids could be sitting down here, virtually rotting away intellectually, and nobody seems to care. The only thing that's important is what the teachers union think about all this. But this goes back to a bigger problem that we spoke about on this show previously, is that the government making choices of what is essential and what is not essential. That is the government making choices based on the special interests of their political supporters. And that's what's happening here. And who is suffering for this? Our children, our grandkids. That's who's suffering for this. Not these people who are going to get up and go back to their fine estates at night. There's a very good example that's going on right now. Gavin Newsom, the esteemed governor of our state, who is supporting the lockdown of the schools because the public union support him. But the public teachers union support him. But you know what he does? He sends his kids. He have school-age children. He sends his kids to private school, and they're going to school right now.
Is that a school connected to the French Laundry by any chance? Is that where the kids get their lunches?
Yes, it might be.
We're being ruled by the ruling class, so there you have it.
Yes, they have become our overlords. Yeah. They're supposed to be our servants, but they have become our overlords, and we are their servants and slaves.
Yeah,
more of the rules for thee and not for me. But
indeed.
Well, anyways, it is a little bit of a departure from the education issue, but recently we've had a lot of kerfuffle as well about the whole national anthem in sports, and it's kind of an interesting issue because this, even though it would seem like how important is this, when we got all these other issues going on like COVID and all that, but if you think about it, a lot of this, BLM protesting and a lot of this other stuff. A lot of this, it kind of was sparked initially by issues around the national anthem and sports, all the way back to, Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, ways back. But anyways, specifically, the biggest thing that just came up recently is Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, recently decided to sort of break ranks with, many of his fellow, NBA teams and stop playing the national anthem and before games. I'm not sure if they were still playing the Black national anthem or not, but they stopped playing the national anthem, which has gotten to be kind of there's an interesting history on all that. It goes back quite a ways to baseball and World War I, World War II and such, that this just became sort of a normal thing at sports events to play the national anthem. But that said, it is interesting, sort of a private business decided to stop playing the national anthem, and a lot of sort of contention came up about it, and then the NBA told him he's going to play the national anthem, so they're back to playing the national anthem again. You guys have any thoughts on the whole kerfuffle?
Well, okay. Leon hesitated just the right amount of time for me to jump in here. From a nationalism standpoint, I'm not all broken up about not playing the national anthem, and from its historical sources related to wars, that we talk about their validity there, and why you would do that at a sporting event, so on and so forth. And of course, if Mark Cuban owns the team, and I don't know how much control he has over what goes on in the stadium that his team is playing in. I think other people own the stadium, and it is an NBA sanctioned game, so it seems like they have a higher authority. So it's for me, it's kind of I'm just sitting back, kind of watching it. But like I say, I'm not real busted up. But when I'm at a game and the national anthem comes, I've got my hand over my heart, and I'm Mr. Patriot to basically the Constitution. I know it. It's got a reference to things other than the Constitution. I mean, if they were pledging allegiance just to the Constitution, I would think, hey, what's wrong with that? That's a good thing. You should keep doing that. But I don't know. So what do you think, Leon?
Well, I mean, it is true. The Dallas Mavericks is a private organization, and it's also true the NBA, which is the overall league, is a private organization. Yeah. And correct. They can make policy as they see fit. Mm-hmm. However, okay, so this is where my conservative part comes in here. However, I think there's value in our collective nature, okay, in the sense that I think there should be something that binds us together, okay, that should bind us all together. We are all Americans, and we should be. Okay, I wasn't born here. I came here when I was 20 years old. But I'm an American citizen, okay? And I feel connected to that flag. Oh, yes, it would have a history. Yes, you could point to all the things that the United States have done wrong overseas and other places. Yes, all those things, it truly has happened. But what is the utopia that we are trying to create here by saying, oh, the flag is no longer good. The national anthem is no good. We should disrespect it by taking a knee. When it's being played. Now you think about that for a second. So this place that we call the United States of America, this place have only brought us bad things? What about all the good things that it have brought us? Shouldn't that count for something? So I think these people, especially these billionaires like Mark Cuban, should have a little bit of damn respect. And they should play the national anthem when there are games. And they should do it. And don't insult the people who are supporting their ventures. Because I think it's an insult not to play the national anthem in these places. So that's my conservative part and not my libertarian part. On the libertarian part, I could see the point. But no, we should be playing the national anthem. And I hope the fans, if they decide not to, whenever they do, I hope the fans boycott the damn games. And let's see what they're going to do then.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why we call them the last word in liberty. And that's why I went first, probably because he let me go first. Probably because he knew better than to have me go second, because he knew I would have just gone.
But before we leave this topic though, there's one other thing, okay?
Yeah.
Mark Cuban was in that video. He was on some show on ESPN, right? Mm-hmm. And he was talking about the voices of the community is not being heard. I would like to know which voices he's talking about not being heard. Okay, I find it so idiotic you wouldn't believe. Oh, there's systemic racism. There we go again. Systemic racism. And people are afraid to walk down the street. Yeah. I would like to know who these people he's talking about.
Well,
and this is the reason for not playing the national anthem.
That's kind of the crazy thing with all of this, and I think it goes back to the picture we're showing right here now, and that's of Colin Kaepernick taking the knee. And so I want to give a little bit of a background to this, because this definitely led to a lot of the issues around all of the national anthem kerfuffle, I guess, that we're having right now. So to give you just a little bit of backstory. So essentially, I guess, I recently heard on the Mises had a podcast on this. So this is pretty good if you want to go look into it a little more. But essentially, the national anthem started getting played at baseball games during World War I and World War II because it was a patriotic thing and it really got the crowd excited. And so it was a positive thing. So they just kept doing it. And that's become a tradition since then, since that time in baseball, and the other sports that came along later have just, adopted that as well as they've gone on. But recently with, some of the political unrest that we've had, we had the issue of Colin Kaepernick. Now, Colin Kaepernick, they show him here in Time magazine taking the knee, and he was a football player doing this. And the big issue with Colin Kaepernick is, he says he's doing it for the Black Lives Matter type of movement, and so that's been a big impetus to that. I do kind of question that a little bit. I mean, if you look at the timing of all this, I mean, he was very successful when he first started with the 49ers. They went to the Super Bowl, I believe, in 2013. No taking a knee back then. And when he was successful in his career in 2014, no taking a knee when he was still relatively successful. They come up to 2015. He's starting to fight for his starting job, taking the bench, not necessarily the knee, but taking the bench at times. And he's sort of going back and forth and battling with this Blaine Gabbert for the starting job. And then in 2016 is when he first takes a knee, when he's having trouble maintaining his starts. He starts sitting on the bench during the national anthem instead of standing with his team. And then eventually he starts taking the knee on the field in that. So, the timing is, certainly there were things going on with protests about police before he started taking a knee. But, it's just, it is interesting, somebody who, when they're successful, this isn't an issue, but when his career is waning, suddenly, it's
racial injustice. It becomes racial injustice.
Yeah. But anyway, and so that kind of led in, and Trump got involved with all this. They had the players supporting Colin Kaepernick taking a knee out there in the NFL, and a lot of Trump tried to weigh in. But this is where it all gets kind of icky because, if you're sitting here, this is a private business and you got, people, playing the national anthem, and somebody does want to stand, somebody doesn't. I mean, it's private business. I mean, one, if they're telling him, hey, you're getting paid, you're getting paid to stand, that's part of the deal here. So, I don't, I don't think there's an issue there as far as I don't think you have the right to protest on company time. But,
right. Exactly.
but aside from that, though, it does kind of bring in, are you also supposed to be forced to, I guess, are you supposed to be forced to give certain, I don't know, patriotic pitches during company time? I don't know. Anyways, you guys want to jump in on this issue? I know we've kind of done it a little bit, but yeah.
Well, I may think it's not the brightest thing to wear a mask, all around and stuff, but when I'm working, I put a mask on because it's company policy and the policy of our main client. So, it's like that goes against my personal freedom, right? My body, sure. My choice, correct? Yes. I mean, as long as nobody innocent, the thing about abortion, abortion is my body, my choice. And so is wearing a mask, my body, my choice. But you might hurt someone innocent. Well, you mean like abortion? Maybe? No. Okay, I'm off tracks. I'm sorry. I just thought of a meme that I saw. I thought it was clever. And this is what happens when you have ADD. Okay, you just go off on tangents, and you get it eliminated by the censors and the people doing the cuts on the video that we're going to put out here on YouTube. So anyway, what was I think? I can't remember what I was talking about. Go ahead.
It is company time. Okay. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick is doing this on company time. All of these things, kneeling, is on company time. But when we are working in private industry, and I have worked in private industry, there are certain things that I had to do because I work for the organization. Most important, I have to be there at a certain time. Okay? I can't just get up in the morning and decide, well, you know what? Ah, shit. Excuse me. I don't feel like God, this thing gonna sink me, boy.
Gonna be a lot of editing of this video.
Of course. I can't get up in the morning and just say I don't feel like going to work today, and I'm not gonna call it. I can't do that. And if I do that too often, I could be fired.
Yep.
And if
sorry. I was just going to say, according to what was it? We talked about this before, but that with the Smithsonian, it was at African American Museum or whatever. They put out a whole list of things that are acting white, and apparently you're saying showing up to work. You shouldn't have to do that anyway because that's just acting white. Showing up on time, apparently.
Yes, being on time, punctuality is part of all you guys' white privilege. You know,
exactly.
that you have infected the rest of us with.
Which alone, that whole idea. I mean, because the flip side is what you're supposed to think is so being late is a black trait, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's what
and
you're
if you
supposed
say that,
to think.
And Tim, if you say that out loud, they'll call you racist. Okay?
Oh yeah.
If you say that.
Oh yeah. But that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying.
I know. But I'm telling you, the hypocrisy will be that if acting white is punctuality is acting white. And then if I say, well, I'm going to act black and I'm going to come up whenever the hell I feel like it, and you turn around and say, well, hey, look at you. Yeah. You're being black. You're being late. They're going to call you a racist.
Exactly. That's, but they're.
Unless you identify as black. So
right, exactly.
I don't know if that's okay or not, but I've heard it's okay from the left.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing about the libertarian podcasts in general is that we spend a lot of time pointing out the hypocrisy of the left, and we kind of get to where we sound like broken records at times. And some libertarians are making concerted efforts. I just heard one today in their podcast to avoid that. I'm not saying we should, because I kind of like to bring it out myself, and Leon loves it, and so it's probably going to live on in this podcast, but. Boy, I tell you what, there is no shortage of hypocrisy from the left. There's a lot from the right too, but the left just leaves us behind.
Well, I got a quick hypocrisy thing for you. So another thing that's come out of all this is not they don't necessarily want to play the national anthem, but they want to play the black national anthem. And I gotta say, the black national anthem, maybe they play two songs, but why not? Maybe there's a Mexican national anthem. Maybe there's a Japanese national anthem. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's, where does it stop too? As far as like you say, tying us together and stuff,
Well, what's the black national anthem? Is it the national anthem to rap, or is it with jazz?
It's a song called Raise All Voices.
Oh, I see.
But this thing just goes back to this identity politics that the left plays, the Democratic Party in particular. Team Blue, using your vernacular, Jason. This just goes back there. Now, you give me one reason why any American should be looking to say, oh, the only way I'm going to feel good, the only way I'm going to feel like an American is if we play the black national anthem. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Seriously. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
It doesn't sound very inclusive, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're about that point in the show where we're go to something silly that somebody said other than us. Our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. And so today for our Knucklehead Noise Patrol, we have Hollywood weighing in on something or other about Trump, I guess, and so they're always weighing in about Trump, so it's nothing new. But Sean Penn said, actor in Hollywood, said something particularly kind of knuckleheaded. He said, evangelical leaders should themselves be impeached by the Vatican if they themselves don't follow Nikki Haley's lead and clearly state they should not have followed Satan That's orange-haired Trump, just in case you're not. Satan into the bowels of hell, but perhaps they are too busy at sex parties. Okay. So apparently he doesn't understand that evangelicals that don't listen to the Vatican, but
evangelicals are mostly Protestants who have no connection to the Vatican. This idiot didn't even know that. Okay, yes, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. If the Vatican is connected to the Roman Catholic Church, if this idiot didn't know, I was so shocked when I read that. I said, Sean Penn, really? Seriously? Seriously?
Oh boy, yeah, that's a good one, because that's a lack of understanding of all kinds of things, and I'm not sure about what these sex parties are. He's talking about
the Lincoln Project, and the sex predator John Weaver.
Oh, so he was having sex parties, just one person with other people.
No, the Lincoln Project is an anti-Trump. They are claimed to be Republicans.
Oh,
but they're anti-Trump.
Okay.
Totally anti-Trump. But they had one of the co-founders who there's a big scandal ongoing about him being a sex predator, and it seems to be true. He's a sex predator, and so the Lincoln Project is about to shut down. He was referring to that about the sex parties. That's what he was referring to.
Oh boy! All right. Well, I don't know. Gosh. If you have to have an excuse not to do something, going to the sex parties is probably one of the better excuses. Honey, I'm gonna be late for dinner because I have a sex party.
I just wish. I'm sorry, Jason. You're going to say something?
No, that's okay. You go ahead.
I just wish these celebrities will just shut their mouth. They're just a bunch of morons, a bunch of idiots who teach us nothing. I wish they just shut their mouth, and if they have some acting skills, some of them do. Sean Penn is not a bad actor, to be honest, and that kind of stuff. But he and Chelsea Handler and some of these other people, they just talk this crap that gets us nowhere. I wish they'll just shut up and just quietly do the thing that they're trained to do, or they're born doing, or whatever. Just go do what you need to do. Just shut up about everything else.
Yeah, because if there's any group that goes to sex parties, it's Hollywood, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Jeez. Oh, sorry. Was that racist?
Well, clearly Sean Penn is leading Hollywood and acting the fool. So, but I guess we'll wrap this one up then on that note. But thanks so much for joining us again for another episode of Knuckleheads of Liberty. You can catch us at libertariancounterpoint.com, and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks so much.